file uploads are a common feature supported by many servers. So when you fill out a form, for example, you might have a field there where you fill out a file name and then upload that file to the server side. As an example, suppose you are uploading the information about a dish to the server side, then you may wish to also upload the corresponding image of the dish to the server side. So in the process, you will first upload the image of the dish to the server side, obtain a URL for that image from the server side wherever it is uploaded and stored, and then use that image in the JSON document that describes the dish in detail, so that subsequently when clients retrieve the JSON document describing the dish in order to render the UI, then from within the JSON document, they will be able to obtain the URL of the dish image that has been uploaded to the server side and then use it in constructing the UI. So in the examples that we have seen so far, when we looked at the details of a dish, we have seen that there is an image field in there, which is a string, which is nothing but the URL for that image corresponding to the specific dish or the promotion or the leader as we have constructed in our REST API server. Now, in this lecture, we're going to learn more about uploading files, how is it supported in a server, and then how we can leverage a Node module that enables us to support uploading of files. File uploads are typically supported through a form input. So in an input, if you specify the type as file and the name as the name of the field there, then you would be able to supply the file that will be uploaded when you click on the submit button for this particular form there. Now, when the file information is uploaded to the server side, the form data itself is typically encoded as either application/x www form URL encoded or multipart/form data. So when you design your form, for example, you would design a form with the action set to /image upload, a REST API endpoint, which will be acting as the endpoints to which you do the post of the image. So the corresponding method would be post, and the encoding type, you will set it to multipart/form data within your form. So this means that the form elements will be encoded into that encoding type and then uploaded to the server side. File upload is more efficient with multipart/form data, and hence that is the preferred approach that we use for uploading files. Now, if you want to know more details about file upload and form upload and the application/x www form URL encoded or the multipart form data, then you can read the HTML5 W3C recommendation where the details are given, and also the corresponding IETF request for comment documents. I have links to these in the additional resources in case you wish to read more about the actual details of how these form encoding types are supported. From our perspective, when we use the multipart/form data, when this is included into a HTTP request message that is going to the server side, then in the header of the request message, you will have a content type set to multipart/form data, and then also a boundary value set up like that. The boundary separates the multiple parts of the request body. So the request body itself of the outgoing request message will be divided into multiple parts, and each part will be delineated from the previous part by using this boundary here. Now, in order to further illustrate to you the details, I have rigged up the server to print out this information from the incoming request message so that we can examine this in a bit more detail. Taking a look at the details for a specific message that I've sent from my Postman to the server side, you can notice that here I have printed the request headers here, And in particular, in the request header, let me draw your attention to this header here called content type, which is set to multipart / form data. And then note in particular the boundary defined here with this long number in here. So that is the request header for the incoming request message that I have posted by using Postman. In fact, this is exactly the request message that I will be using in the exercise that follows this lecture in order to upload the file. So when we upload that file there, you would notice that in the request body, so this is where I print out the request body down below here. And in the request body, you will notice that it prints out this particular line here. And this corresponds to the boundary that is specified here. So this boundary essentially specifies the separation between the various parts of the multi-part body that is part of this request message. So in the request body, you see this being defined here. In addition, you will also specify the saying content disposition as form data. So which means that interpret this as form data and the corresponding name as image file and the file name itself from the client side that has been uploaded. The file name itself is given here, and then down below it says content type image / PNG. So I am uploading this PNG image file here. So this is the details that is described here. And as you scroll down into the request body itself, you will see the details of what is included in the request body. So this is inside the PNG file here. You will see this information in the PNG file. So if you open the PNG file, this is what you would see in here. So this contains a whole bunch of ASCII characters here, which obviously on the screen cannot be printed. So as you scroll down, you will see this whole set of information, which is actually what is contained in the request body of the request message that is uploading this particular file to the server side. So you see that the body actually contains the encoded version of the image there. And this is the end of the boundary for that request body. So in our request message, we just have one file included in here. You could also upload multiple files if you so wish to, but then you need to configure the npm module appropriately to accept multiple files here. So this is how your request body itself contains the encoded version of the image from which your server will extract the image and then save it into the file with the same file name on the server side. So this is how we will configure our application, the server-side application to do in the exercise that follows this lecture. So I thought that it'll be a interesting step to illustrate to you exactly what my server is receiving. And so this will tell you why we are specifying this boundary here and how within the request body itself, we are using that boundary to delineate the various parts of the request body. So the server side, when it processes, will be able to extract the image data from the request body appropriately and then save the image file on the server side. So just as I have illustrated in the terminal there, the boundary separates the multipass request body. And so you saw the boundary specified there. In order to work with the multipart request body, multipart form data contained in the request body, we're going to use an npm module that supports the processing of multipart form data included inside the request body. It'll automatically extract everything for you and then load it onto two objects on the request object on the server side. So this npm module called Multer, which when installed on your server-side application and configure your Express server to use Multer, then you will be able to process the incoming request message that contains this multipart form data in the request message. So Multer is the node middleware that will help the server handle multipart form data. This is written on top of another NPM module called Busboy. Busboy is a module that processes incoming HTML form data, the general HTML form data. And in particular, Multer builds upon Busboy to enable you to process multi-part form data on your server side. Now, when it parses this information, Multer will upload the incoming form data and it adds a body object to the rec. So you will have a rec.body object and also a rec.file object. If you upload a single file, then it'll contain a rec.file object. If you set up your Multer to accept multiple file uploads, then it will set up the rec.files object. The files object will be an array which contains all the information for each particular file that is uploaded on the server side. The file object itself contains information that summarizes the way the file is saved on the server side by Multer. With this quick understanding of how file upload works, let's move on to the exercise where we will actually configure the Multer module and then use it within our Express application to handle file uploads from the client side.